everyone, this is Gina. Today I'm going to show you how to make these really cute little bracelets with the Pastel Passion Treasure Bags, Color Mix 1 and Color Mix 2. And I made this one for my design. This is Color Mix 2. This is Color Mix 1, and we'll be making this one on the video today. Now, you can do this with other beads. You do not have to use the treasure bag. For your spacer, for your butterflies, you can use any larger bead you'd like to use. You can use an 8mm round. You can use any kind of pretty crystal that you have. I actually considered using these crystals in between. You can use anything you want in between. It will work just fine, and then just do the rest of the bracelet the same way. You may have to adjust your length and the amount of components you make. However, you can still do this technique, so don't feel left out. Again, this is Color Mix 2, this is Color Mix 1, and we're going to go ahead and look and see what it takes to make this project and get started. Okay, for this project today, we're going to be using some of the beads found in the newest Treasure Bags Pastel Passion Color Mix 1 and 2. So I'm going to show you how to make the bracelet with Color Mix 1. I've already made one with Color Mix 2. It turned out really, really cute. So this is Color Mix 2, and there's still about 30 bags of those left if you want to get a Color Mix 2. Color Mix 1 is sold out. But in Color Mix 1, we're going to be using the simulated opalite beads, the coin shape that you have in your bag. You have a very long strand. You're going to be using these for Color Mix 1. For Color Mix 2, you have this imitation jade in a very light green, and that's what you'll be using for Color Mix 2. For Color Mix 1, we're also going to be using 6 of these little butterfly beads, the little faceted glass butterfly beads. They're in fuchsia in Color Mix 1. In Color Mix 2, they are a pale pink. Then we are going to be using, you got a strand in both bags. It's exactly the same of this mixed color 3x2 or 2mm, something like that, little spacer beads, little rondelles, and we're going to be using those. I've just dumped them off into a little pile here. Now you have them in both bags, so whether you have mix 1 or 2, this is the strand that you're going to use. And you can also do this project with any beads that you have. And I'll discuss that as I make that, but this particular technique will work with any beads you have in your stash, so don't feel like you have to have a treasure bag. You don't. And then we're going to be using one of the clasps from the treasure bag, this little toggle clasp, and we're going to be using some size 2 crimp beads. This is Bead size 2 in the gold color. We're also going to need about 35 head pins, and I have this little ball head pin. It's thin and soft, so I'm going to use it to just kind of roll my components together. If you have a longer or harder head pin, you can just make a basic loop, and I will discuss that, and you can cut them down if they're soft enough to roll. You can use whatever you have on hand is what I'm trying to say. Then we're going to be using 6mm round jump rings. Now, those two are wrong. You're going to need about 7 of them, but you want them to be at least 6mm in the outside diameter. This is also probably about a 20 gauge, maybe 21 gauge of wire. You want to be able to slide this over your little beads on your bracelet, so it has to be at least 6mm in diameter. Then, and you don't want it to be much bigger than that, because then they'll just kind of sag around instead of staying in place. So that's what we'll be using. And then I'm going to use Bead 49, and this is the satin gold color. You can use any bead stringing wire you have, as long as you can get it through your little tiny beads here, which they have a pretty good size hole, so you should be fine. So you can use whatever bead stringing wire you would like to use. And then what else? What else do we need? That's it. So let's go ahead and get started with this project. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is we're going to get some components ready for this bracelet. Now, this is a 6mm jump ring with 5 looped beads on it. And we're going to make 7 of these components. I'm going to show you how to loop your bead, and then I'm going to show you how to drop them onto your jump ring. So I have this little head pin, and it is 1 inch long, and I'm going to cut it down just a little bit, probably about 4mm, and just shorten it a little. It's still just a little long. If you have a long head pin, then go ahead and just cut it down to about 3/4 of an inch, maybe a little bit longer, and then drop this on. Now, if you have a hard head pin, I will show you in a minute how to make your component. But this is a soft head pin, and I am just going to drop it on my bead, and then I'm going to start at the very top here, towards the very tip of the wire, and I'm just going to roll this as far as I can away from me, just like this. I'm going to take my plier out, I'm going to put it back in, and at the very tip of my plier, I'm just going to start to roll this wire, and I'm just going to keep rolling it. And as the little top comes up, if it splits apart, I just push it back together, and then when I can get my plier on it, I tap it down, and then I just continue rolling until it's nice and tight against the bead, just like this. And you're going to do that with 5 beads for each component. So here I have made 4 other ones. And then once you have 5 of those made, you are just going to grab one of your 6mm jump rings, find where it opens right there, and then I'm just going to put 2 pliers on it and crank it open, just like that. Let me actually get in camera here. There we go. Let me back off a little so it's not blurry. And now I am going to take all 5 of my components. I'm going to hold this on the edge of the jump ring here, and I am just going to drop all 5 of my components onto this jump ring. And then I'm just going to close the jump ring and set it aside. And you're going to make 7 components just like this. So let me grab another head pin here, if I can find one that's long enough and will work, and I'll show you how to use, actually this one isn't all that long, but it should be a little bit thicker and harder. So you're just going to make a basic loop. You just don't want to make a big one, because you're rolling these all the way to the bead. You don't want your beads to be really far away from the jump ring. It just kind of doesn't make quite the same clustered effect. It'll work, but it's just not quite the same thing. These head pins, I don't like them, but we're going to see if I can slide this on here. Okay, so I've slid this bead on my jump ring, and then I am just going to grab it with a flat nose plier, just about 1 millimeter away from the bead, just like this, and I am going to bend it back. Just bend it straight over this bead, like this. And then I'm going to cut it down to about a 1/4 of an inch. Then I'm going to grab my round nose pliers and grab it at the very end of the wire here, and start to roll a small loop here. So I want to stay towards the front of my plier. Once I've gone as far as I can, I'm going to take my plier out, turn it over, and go back in towards the tip of that loop, and just make a real nice small tight loop on your bead like that. Now you can do that if you don't have really soft little ball head pins like I have, and you can't really roll your head pin. You can do this. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to go ahead and make 7 components on your 6mm jump ring with 5 of your looped beads on them, and then we'll be back. Okay, so now you can see I have made my 7 components. So I have 5 beads on each 6mm round jump ring, and I'm just going to set these aside. Now, if you need a much smaller bracelet, then you may be able to get away with 6 of those, and it just depends on how you want to do that. But the best way to do it is just to reduce the beads we space with, and we'll talk about that. So this is what we're going to do now. I've cut a 12-inch piece of my Bead 49 in the satin gold color. You can use whatever you've got on hand, and I'm going to then pick up a crimp tube, and I'm going to bring it down quite a ways because it's just easier to handle, and then I'll scoot it back up as I do this. Then I'm going to get one of my little coin beads, and I'm going to drop it on. Then I'm going to grab my clasp. I'm going to put the wire through the loop. Then I'm just going to bring this wire around, and I'm going to go through the coin bead, and I'm going to go through the crimp tube, just like this. And I'm just going to push enough through so that I can grab onto that short end. Push this up just a little bit. Then I am going to hold onto those beads and pull the longer piece of wire, so that I scoot this down just like this. And I'm not making a huge loop, just enough to move around. And then I'm going to grab my crimping plier and my crimping tool, and I'm just going to, in the second divot closest to the handle, I'm going to position this on my crimp bead, my crimp tube. Sorry, everything's loosening up. Let me tighten it. And then tighten that again. Sorry, it's playing with me. This wire is pretty fine, so it's not really staying in there that well. And I'm going to put my crimp tool on here in the first divot and squeeze. Now you can see I have 2 little tubes around either wire here. I'm going to place those 2 little tubes sideways so that they're touching the crimping tool in my crimping tool in my crimping tool in the first divot here. Now you can see they're touching, and I'm just going to squeeze. Oh, I've got this crimped and it's secure, and I don't have to worry about it sliding off. And I am just going to grab my flush cutters, and I'm going to cut this wire very close to the crimp tube, just like that. Now my little end is prepared, and I can start stringing. So what I'm going to do is get out my little frosty beads, and you can do this with the 8 seed beads too. So if you do not have these little round beads and you're doing this on your own without the treasure bag, just get out an 8 seed bead. It'll work just fine too. So, or any 2x3 rondelle, whatever you'd like to do. I'm just going to pick these up in random colors, and I'm going to pick up 5 of them. Now on my first bracelet, I picked up 6, and it came out to be about 7.5 inches, but it's a little bit big on my wrist. So I'm going to do 5 beads in between each of my sections here. So I'm going to pick up 5 of these little beads. I'm going to see what length I end up with. Now you can adjust this amount of beads that you pick up to make a longer or shorter bracelet. You could even conceivably pick up just 3 beads. I wouldn't do any less than 3, but you could just pick up 3. I'm picking up 5, and I'm going to aim for about a 7-inch bracelet this time. Now I'm going to grab one of my components that I made with the coin beads, and I'm just going to go with the beading wire straight through that 6mm jump ring and just drop it down onto those beads, just like that. Just kind of keep them tight on there and just drop that on there, just like that. Then I'm going to pick up a butterfly bead, and I'm going to position it with the head of the butterfly towards my beads here and drop it down just like that. Then I am going to pick up 5 more, and I'm just randomly picking up colors in here. I don't really care what color I get. I'm just picking them up, and I'm just gonna they're kind of hard to pick up. They turn and do all kinds of weird little things, so it takes me a minute here. Oh, come on. Alright, so I've got my 5 beads. Then I'm going to pick up another one of my components. I'm going to just put that beading wire straight through the 6mm round jump ring. So I just went straight through that, and then I just kind of gently coax it over the beads. Keep your beads together the best you can. You want them to be over the top and not in between your beads. And as you tighten it, when you crimp it and stuff, you will make sure that that stays that way. And they'll slide around on those little tiny beads in between the butterflies here. Then I'm going to grab another butterfly, and I am going to put it head first and slide it down. Now I'm going to continue doing this, just putting 5 beads in between. And when I get to my 3rd butterfly, it will be this way. And then when I do my 4th one, I'll put it with the head towards the other side of the bracelet, like this, so that they're just positioned kind of cute that way. And we're just going to continue putting 5 little beads in between, and then a butterfly, 5 or 6 or 3, whatever you're doing, beads in between and a butterfly. And you're going to continue doing that until you have all 6 of your butterflies on, and then we'll be back. So you want to make sure after you put your little beads on, you slide one of your components over the beads and just continue moving through your bracelet just like that. And as soon as I have it all strung, I will be back, show you what it looks like, and show you how to end the bracelet. Okay, so now I have strung all of my beads on and dropped my little components over the small beads, and this is what my bracelet looks like so far. Now I have my 5 little beads here, and then I have my component with the coin beads over it, and I am going to now grab a crimp tube, and I'm just going to drop down the crimp tube first. And then I'm going to pick up one of my coin beads, and to narrow this side so that the toggle works well, I'm going to pick up 2 of the little 3mm beads here and drop them down, 2x3s, whatever they are, and I would say 2x3. And then we are going to grab our clasp. Let's see if I can stay in camera here. And I'm going to put my clasp through. And then I'm going to go back through both of these tiny beads here, and the coin bead, and I'm going to go through my crimp tube. Just like this. I'm going to get you real close. So I've just spun it around, went back into the 2 little ones, the coin bead and the crimp tube here. Now, in order to make sure I have actual tension on this, I'm going to grab the side of my wire that does not move. So you can see this side moves. When I pull on the excess coming out of the beads, I'm just going to keep pulling on that until I can let go of it and move everything down without my beads separating, just like this. Now, I'm not leaving a great big loop, but enough for a movement here. And then I am going to grab my crimping tool. Because this is small wire, I don't want to cut this first. I want to crimp it first because I don't know that it's going to stay in place for me. So I'm just going to grab my crimping tool. I'm going to slide in between these beads, make sure I don't have any slack because I want this to hold together well. And I'm going to slide in between these beads into the second divot of my crimping tool, center that little crimp tube in there, and then I am going to squeeze. I'm going to take it out, and then I am going to go sideways in the first divot of my crimping tool, and I will get in camera here, sorry. So let's get into this little crevice and squeeze this. It wants to turn, so I'm going to reposition here. I'm going to hold on to this bead. Hopefully that will help keep it from turning so bad. Once I get it positioned, I'll show you what I'm doing. Sometimes it's acrobatics here. I don't want to break any of my little glass beads, but here I am positioned now and I can squeeze. There we go. Now I'm going to take my flush cutters and I am going to get really close to that crimp tube and just cut that off. And voila, I have a bracelet. I'm going to see if this one fits me better. The other one fits fine, it's just a little bit too big. This one, let's see if it's too small, because taking one of those beads out took about an inch away. So no, this is perfect. So I'm going to say this is probably a 7-inch bracelet. I will measure it so you can see, but this is what this looks like. It's a really cute little thing. It just dingles around. And then this is what this one looks like. This is color mix 2. This is color mix 1. This is color mix 2, and I actually prefer the green and the pink, but I'm a pink girl. I like pink. You'll probably notice I have too many things that are pink when I make my bags and stuff, but I prefer pink to most anything. So I've got pink and green on this one, and you can see with 6 beads in between, it's not much bigger, just a little bit, but it's really cute too. I mean, it's just adorable on. I'm going to back up even more so you can kind of get the idea here of what it looks like on the wrist. Here are the toggles, and it's just a really cute, fun little thing. And I think that, let's make sure that this goes through well. Yeah, it goes through well. I think that they turned out really, really cute. So let me lay them out and show them to you. And here is the color mix 2. And again, check, as of the time right now that I am making this video, there's still about 25, maybe a little bit more bags left of the color mix 2. Now, I think that many people have told me they don't like yellow. Well, color mix 2 doesn't have all yellow in it. It does. I have used mostly yellow, the yellow beads with some of my tutorials so far, but both color mixes have pinks, greens, and white and yellow in them. All of them. Every single one of them. So you're going to get yellow in this one, and you're going to get yellow in this one. You're going to get green in this one, green in this one. You get it. This color mix 2 just is a little bit heavier on the pink, and this color mix is a little bit heavier on the purple. So I forgot. There's purple, and there's purple in both bags too. Just so you know, if you want to get one, they're available. I'm really amazed how long they have lasted, but of course I made a lot of bags this time, so I wanted them to go into the tutorial so that people can buy one if they want to, and that's worked. But now I just want to get rid of them. Just get them out of my room, okay guys? Alrighty then. Anyway, this is what we've made today. Let's zoom in. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial, and if you did, please give me a little thumbs up and consider subscribing and maybe clicking the notification bell so we can continue making things together. Okay then, bye-bye.